Apple had its, always touted hardware event of the year, showing off the iPhone 17, new Apple Watches, new AirPods, all the usual suspects that you expect from Apple. But one thing you hardly heard if you tuned into the hour and 15-minute pre-recorded, pre-produced thing, you hardly heard any mention of AI, not even Apple Intelligence. I think one author, I think at CNN, counted 4 moments throughout the entire thing that had mentioned anything about Apple Intelligence. No mention of the word Siri. So Apple, going over here. I think what's interesting here is that it really, I think whether Apple is trying to wave hands and say, look over there, not over here, or whether Apple is playing a smarter long game, aka doing what Apple always does, which is, you know what, we misstepped before we announced what we did. What in the misstep is we announced things last year that didn't exist yet and that we weren't 100% certain on. We weren't able to deliver on them. That's very not Apple of us. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do what Apple normally does, which is we wait until the dust settles and then we bring out the big guns to show that we waited until things have matured, until maybe the market, the AI market and all the players the dust has settled between them to know who the really good where the really good models reside, so Apple can either target them as an acquisition or just use their technology. And back to the strategy of Apple playing the waiting game, which sometimes people criticize Apple because they say, well, then you're behind. But for whatever reason, Apple comes out after doing that and they are seen as the leaders, when they do it properly, when they do it the way that I think they plan to execute. So it's an interesting kind of position. It's like, is this an admission of Apple saying we aren't touching AI with a 10-foot pole because we did that and boy, did we put our foot in our mouth? Or is this Apple going, no, let's get back to how we're strong, and how we're strong is we wait until the right time to jump.
Or do they ever jump?
Maybe
as was
that
the case with search. Right. So one scenario is that Google can still pay them for search. Mm-hmm. And one scenario says Google will say, you know what, Apple, we're going to throw in Gemini for free. Go ahead and use it to your heart's content. 20 billion is enough. Or no, Apple pay us another $10 million for Gemini. And Apple succeeded just fine without search. And if AI is the replacement, so do you know, Jason, who's powering the simultaneous translation in the earbuds? Do you know? I didn't see anything on it.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know that off the top of my head, but yeah,
it's gotta
clearly
be AI.
It's something. It's, is that just direct from Apple Intelligence? And if so, whose model is that? That's a really great question. I don't know that I've seen the answer to that.
I should have looked that up before we got on. It's powered by Apple Intelligence, so I guess it's theirs. Mm-hmm. But Siri is a laughingstock. Mm-hmm. And so I could see Apple saying, we're going to come up with a replacement for the phone. All you guys are playing with the glasses. Wait till you see ours, our real ones, when we really get going here. Wait till you see the device you're going to plant in your head. That's what we are. That's what we make. And this AI stuff right now is a commodity.
I mean, their strength is, I say their strength is hardware as if their software is not a strength as well. Their software is a strength, but this was a hardware event. And I mean, you see this sort of event from Google and it's hardly about the hardware anymore. Like the Pixel 10 looks, by all accounts, is almost identical to the Pixel 9 by the naked eye, unless you are really clued in on the technology side of things. It's very similar. The big changes and the thing that Google spent 99% of its time talking about were AI features. And, we'll talk a little bit later about how that's not always a success, that's not always a slam dunk. And Apple knows that its hardware prowess is one of its core strengths.
But what's it? If I can jump to this story, the Washington Post did a comparison. The writer Jeffrey Fowler spent 2 weeks playing with both the Apple and the Pixel 10, and the difficulty for Apple is that the Pixel has now set a bar. that Apple can't even approach, let alone jump over. Because he's saying, oh, well, is it going to help you with these functions? Well, the Pixel can, the Apple can't. So he says the iPhone is as if it's 2 years old. It's missed out. That's a problem for Apple. And so in terms of getting the points he makes is the first that because of Gemini, the Pixel can get personal. When was my last haircut? It looked at my calendar and told me the answer, says Fowler. On the iPhone, Siri got confused and told me about an appointment coming up. So that Google wins there. Being proactive. On the Pixel, a friend texted me, "What time is your dinner tonight?" Right in the chat, up popped a little bubble with the details. With one tap, it sent them to my friend. Right, that idea that what Google's been doing with all that functionality. 3 is reinventing voice chats. I'm not sure what that really means, but those were 3 areas.
What does that mean? Yeah.
Curious. But the point is that I think that Google is now unquestionably ahead of Apple because of AI. So either Apple has something in the works and you think they might have even delayed the product, or they know it's so far behind, or they'll just license Google.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of what I was thinking as I was leading up to this show is, Apple does, as it's easy to see, Apple has ungodly amounts of cash laying around. It could very easily solve this problem, but it's obviously not very easy. Otherwise, they would have done it. But they can throw that money in a million different strategies. They could find a company and acquire it. They could invest like Meta is doing in the top AI minds and put them to work. They could do a number of things. But they're choosing at this moment to de-emphasize. And does that actually impact them in the long run? Meanwhile, like you said, you've got Google, leaning hardcore into the AI. And then you have, the Daily Hub, which is a feature that rolled out on the Pixel 10 a couple of weeks ago. Google's pulling it. They say to, kind of tweak it to give it some, to work on its effectiveness and everything. I mean, if I have, in my 2 or 3 weeks with the Pixel 10 so far, if I have one complaint about an app or AI service that Google touted as like, this is amazing, and that I just don't understand, it's this one. So I'm not surprised at all that they pulled it. And these are the kinds of features that we see companies like Google tout as the next big thing. You're going to love it. It's going to tell you so much about you that you didn't already know. It's going to solve your problems way before you even know you have them, blah, 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 blah. And then as a user, you use, and then of course it's run by AI, got to get AI in there 20 times. And then as a user, you end up using it a handful of times, as I did. And every time I'd roll my eyes and be like, this is a joke. Like, this is not useful at all. This is just a bunch of randomness.
How do they dog food that?
Well, yeah, it's a good question. Like, how do you not catch that? Or are you so drunk off your own stash that you're like, oh, it's amazing?
You use all Google features, right? You use Calendar and Gmail and
yes.
And all that, right?
I'm full.
So it's not as if a Google employee uses them and you don't. No, you do too.
Yeah. No, I do too. Yeah, it was a very strange feature. Again, we've talked many times about the system promising to tell you what you need before you know you need it, and that just rarely ever happens to me successfully. And this feature was a prime example of that. It had like a little summary up at the top based on its context of what it knew about you and your day, to kind of give you a short paragraph so that you could read the paragraph. But I found that infinitely difficult because, like, I just want to be able to glance at this thing real quick and go, oh, that's the thing. I don't want to have to sit down and like read through a paragraph in order to, learn the 10 things that I have going today. Just like show them to me.
Right.
And I don't know. So that's a feature that promises so much based on AI, can't quite deliver, kind of similar to what, Apple promised and couldn't deliver. And maybe that's why.
To their credit, they took it down and said, "We'll improve it." And
totally,
it didn't. It because they had enough else. They didn't have a laughing stock around it.
Yeah, totally.
They had a shrug. People said, "This is big."
And I think anyone who's using it, probably read that and was like, "Oh yeah, I get it." So it's like, okay,
and the other
cool.
choice was
At
just
least they recognized that and pulled it down.
Yeah, they could have marketed it through it and said, "Oh, you fools, you don't know this is wonderful."
Right, right. Just give it time.
Try to convince you.
And the problem is the give it time strategy. I, as a user, will stop using it entirely, and I probably won't give it a second chance.
Yes,
if they pull it and they bring it back later, then maybe I'll retry it again. But if
it's only a few 10 users so far.
Yeah,
they didn't send it out to the rest of Pixeldom.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Pixel 10s are only just now hitting people.
Yep.
Being received by people. So the majority of people who are getting a Pixel 10 will have never even interacted with it whatsoever. Yes. So when it comes back, maybe it's better. And then maybe it does prove itself, but I'm thinking of
upgrading finally. Jason, do you recommend I do or not?
I like the Pixel 10. Yeah. It's a phone. Do you get the Pixel 10 or the Pixel 9? I mean, they're both so similar in a lot of ways. There's certain things that you get on the 10. It's not a bad phone at all. It's what I'm using, and I enjoy it, and I like the pictures that I get and everything. And
good. I might do it.
Yeah. I mean, you're on what? You're on Pixel 6?
6.
Oh my goodness!
But I'm so happy with it that I haven't felt any need to upgrade.
Yeah. Okay, that's a 5-year-old phone at this point, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. You're proving. What was the Pixel 6 update promise? Let's see here. Was it 5 years? Probably would be. Google gives Pixel 6 and 7 2 more years. That was at 2024. So they gave it an additional 2 years. So maybe it was I don't know if it's a total of 5 years. You might be pushing the 5-year limit on that. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up more, but. Oh, so Pixel 6 introduced in 2021, guaranteed updates for 3 years, security 4, so 3, 4, 5. So 5 years security, or 5 years of updates.
I'm hitting the end of it. Okay. All right.
Yeah, you'll be hitting the end in a year. But
I think I'll do it.
Hey, it's still rocking for you.
Yeah, it is. It works well.
That's good. Google doing what Google does, and Apple apparently doing what Apple does.